Clipping is a hot topic for a reason. You're getting louder mixes, more headroom, and if you do it right, clipping and the right kind of soft clipping can be extremely ear-pleasing. So if ear-pleasing analog clipping is in your mood today, or if instantaneous compression sounds interesting to you, grab a coffee and get ready. Because the plugin we're looking at today is quite effectively bridging the gap between the analog and digital world. Modeled from some pretty expensive AD conversion mastering hardware, talking about the Lavery Gold, we're getting quite an amazing experience inside of Gold Clip, quickly becoming a go-to for getting that analog sound inside the box. Plus the perks of having anything in plugin form. And as of lately, I'm using it in some way on almost every single mix and master I work on. Now, I have not personally used the hardware this is based on, so I won't pretend to be an expert in how close it sounds to that, but I do like what I hear. The plugin is super cool. I'm getting a ton of headroom in my mixes, and it's really bringing up some of that low-end information, which I love out of these type of saturation plugins. So let's jump in and have a look. This is Gold Clip by Schwabe Digital, and let's take a tour. So like any good plugin, we have a bypass, which is awesome for A/Bing. You can also set up two different kind of versions of your own settings and A/B them like this, which is great. Wet and dry. It's always nice to have a mix knob. Here's our delta, so we can hear what the gold processing and the clipping is doing. We'll listen to that in a moment. We have a few different settings here as well. We have our type of clipper. We can choose between modern, hard, classic. We'll get there in a second. This is our gold processing, and this is really interesting what this does. Recommend when you use the gold processing, set the plugin onto unity gain, because this will allow you to hear the gold without getting biased by the volume that it's adding. It'll allow you to just hear evenly at unity gain 1-to-1 before and after of what is happening. Over here we have an alchemy knob. From my understanding, it applies a little bit of an EQ to the highs to smoothen out the clipping that's happening. You can control how much of that is here. This is a little bit tricky to hear. To be honest, sometimes I can't tell if it's doing anything because it's so subtle. Over here we have box tone, and what this does is rolls off the highs essentially. We have the classic, which is just a really smooth roll off, and then the modern, which has a little bit of a ripple kind of here in the high frequency, so targeting a little bit deeper into some of those highs. The ceiling here is where we will set our clip point, and most of the time you'll just want to leave that at 0 and drive the input of the track into the clip point, where it'll tell you here how much clipping is happening. Down here in the left, it'll show us the exact timestamp where our max clip is happening, meaning the loudest spot, in case I want to go back into my track and find that and just have a closer look at things. I can link my input and my output, but if I'm listening with the unity on as I apply the gold, this is not something I worry about too much. This is a song from an artist called Preciseless. This is a song I mixed. It's called Overnight Train, and it's just a great tune. It is just the mix with no limiting, no clipping, and it'll allow us to do all of that here inside this plugin. Let's have a listen to this track with everything bypassed.
But no one can. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security, left black and white.
Let's take this out of bypass, and we won't add any gold yet. We'll just bring the song up to the ceiling, up to 0.
But no one can.
And just so I don't get too loud here on our audio stream, I'm going to bring the ceiling down, which I can also use to hit the clip point from above down.
But no one can. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security, left black and white.
All right, so we've dialed in a couple dB of clipping right at the top of the mix, and that is actually where this plugin is designed to function best. And that's where this gold processing is going to be able to give us that headroom back. Now, I am going to turn unity on so that we don't actually hear the volume being added, but that we can actually just hear the processing. So let's bring in this gold, and I'll start on the modern setting. You can see the gain transfer function here is a little bit less aggressive than the classic, which is more gradual, and I think a lot fuller sounding. So let's just start with the subtle.
But no one can. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security.
Okay, so you can see what's happening with the gold. Let's listen again.
But no one can.
Watch this gold line there. See how it's thin? That's when the gold is off. Once I turn the gold on, you'll see that line begin to thicken.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right. Money, fake myself.
So we can see that the low level information is being brought up by the gold, and those peaks
But no one cared. I thought I did it right.
are being compressed. So what makes gold clip unique is that this gold processing is adding nonlinear gain, and then it's taking that gain away with linear gain after. But that's just a fancy way to say that the peaks are getting lower and the perceived volume is even, which means we're getting a lot of headroom back. So the idea with the clipper is that you drive the input to the clipping point, and this is the type of knee that is being applied to the clipping. So hard, classic, which looks like a soft knee, and modern, which is softened out even more. Let's listen to all three and just get to know them a little bit.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security, left black and white. One day I found a photograph. You were not out alone. I heard the voice inside.
So that's actually pretty crazy how you can really hear the difference once you switch the clipping type. The modern was really smooth and round, kind of in the low mids. Hard was just that nice snappy hard clipping on top. And classic, I actually found classic sounded best to me because it was kind of that balanced, nice soft clipping, but it wasn't too much. Now let's listen to the type of gold processing. This gold setting here changes the curve of the saturation that the gold brings in. So you'll hear quite a big difference between modern and classic. Let's listen.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security, left black and white.
Oh, that classic just sounds so warm and so full to me. And you can actually see what both gold modes are doing on that gold waveform line. Because the classic curve is transferred across more of the amplitude of the waveform, it's going to be doing more compression and giving us more saturation. You can see the modern just applies that kind of at the end of the transfer function here. Now watch the gold line so you can see and hear the difference.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security, left black and white. One day I found a photograph. You were not out alone.
So we're getting quite a bit of headroom back, and this gold is giving us just this great analog clipping sound as well. Let's try this with a little bit of the alchemy added, which is supposed to EQ the highs a little bit and make the clipping sound a little more smooth.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security, left black and white.
Okay, so that's very subtle to the point where you wonder if you're even hearing anything at times. I wonder if it comes through in the export and upload and stream of this video, and that's the subtle and smooth alchemy knob. Now let's check out the box tone. We can choose between flat, classic, and modern, and this is just a high roll off on the tone of the clipping. So let's have a listen to that as well.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security, left black and white. One day I found a photograph. You were not out alone.
So each has its own sound and just the way that it affects things. I think I actually like the combination of the modern with the classic clipping in that case. Let's check out our wet and dry.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right.
And here we can hear the delta, meaning we can hear the difference of what this is actually doing.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right.
Oh yeah, that's clipping. Now to finish off our testing, let's actually turn off the clipping and just listen to what the gold processing is doing on its own. Because if it's not clipping, this gold processing is actually just adding compression without attack and release, which just essentially means it's an instantaneous compression. And that is actually really difficult to hear. It's not so obvious because when we hear compression, we're usually listening to the envelope of the attack and release, which makes the compression obvious to hear. In this case, that compression is going to be instantaneous and just essentially bringing the low-level info up and bringing those peaks down. So let's turn off our settings here and hear what this gold does when we're not approaching our clipping point, but just using it as an instantaneous compression.
But no one cared. I thought I did it right. Money, fake my security, left black and white.
So you can really see that compression there. Low-level info getting brought up, peaks getting brought down. At the end of the day with clipping and clippers, sometimes the point isn't always to add tone. It's to get a ton of headroom back and to do it in a way that sounds really good. And this is definitely one of the better sounding clippers out there for doing that. And part of that I think we can attribute to the choice of analog hardware that we're modeling and also to the great team at Schwabe Digital that put this together. As always with new plugins, I always recommend downloading the demo or trial version of a plugin first, give it a shot, get a feel for it, and see if it's for you. I'm really enjoying this plugin and it's definitely part of my workflow now, and I'm interested to hear what you think as well. So don't forget to comment below and let me know what you think, and subscribe for more to make sure I see you again. Now for spending this time with me today, I want to give you a gift. It's my home mixing cheat sheet. So if you're wondering, okay, this is cool, but how do you get a mix to sound like that in the first place? Well, all of my go-to settings for EQ, compression, just great sounding starting points for guitar, vocals, bass. I have this all in this cheat sheet. It is a chart and it breaks it all down. It's one page, very simple, but it gets you results fast. It's absolutely free. The link to download it will be at the top of the description. Otherwise, my friend, thanks for joining me today. Subscribe and happy mixing.